Hey, how's it going, YouTube? Thank you for stopping by, checking out my YouTube page, checking out my YouTube video. My name is Rick. I'm also known as Rick's 2 Cents. Those are new to my channel, thank you for stopping by, checking out a new video. Those are not new to my channel, thank you for being a loyal subscriber and coming back for another video. If you find this content informational, useful, do me a favor, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. Of course, I always leave my email available for anyone who wants to contact me. Send me an email, rick.ramirez@ricks2cents.com, rick.ramirez@ricks2cents.com. I have no problem with answering anyone's email, but I do ask you a favor. If you're gonna send me an email, do me a favor. Just go ahead and put a comment in the comments below. Just say, hey, Rick, checked out your video. I sent you an email. I got a couple questions. Only because that kind of helps out the YouTube algorithm. So please do me a favor and go ahead and do that, and that'll help out a little bit. I've been wanting this laser for a while. I just want to thank my subscribers for kind of putting me on and being aware of new products that come out and having the ability to work with manufacturers to be able to provide these products to you and provide these reviews to you as well. If you're able to see or did see, I did kind of a YouTube short, so to speak, of kind of a spoiler alert saying that I had this laser and I held off a little bit. And if you're saying, well, why was I holding off? For suspense reasons? Maybe, but not really. The real reason I was kind of holding off doing this review is I was preparing to do this review. And not necessarily what I want to cover in content of this video, but actually what I wanted to create with this actual laser. I see a lot of these content providers, a lot of these content YouTubers, all they're doing is they're pumping and dumping these lasers. You know, they do a video, they make $2 grand from the manufacturer, and they're on to the next. And the only thing they're showing you is, hey, let's cut a piece of MDF, or let's cut a 2x4. We all know that some of these high-end lasers are capable of doing that. You're not buying a laser so that you can cut a 2x4. If you want to cut a 2x4, go buy a circular saw, a chop saw. There's a lot of easier ways to do that. My assumption is the reason you're buying this is you're a hobbyist and you just want to make some cool stuff for yourself, friends, or your home-based business, or a business that you want to get into. Okay, so what sets this apart from others besides other manufacturers now trying to copy the design? I've seen kind of copy of lookalikes. This is an IkiER, they call them Gen 2. So as you see other manufacturers start to come out, these Gen 2. What is a Gen 2 laser? A Gen 2 laser is basically that it has a capability of auto-focusing itself. So when you're going to a depth that you don't have to adjust it. So realistically, what's going to separate them apart from Gen 1s and Gen 2s is this is going to be able to achieve more of a CNC quality or CNC performance engraving. And what I mean by that is, let's just say that you want to do some type of engraving that's really deep, and then you want some lighter and you want some fine design. You want to switch it up and you have all these different layers that you could actually have the laser autofocus in between those lasers and not have to manually do it. It's really like a plug and play, good to go. Just really be able to speed up the process and totally create, to widen your abilities, what you can do on a CNC laser to really keep up with a diode laser to really keep up what a CNC would be able to do. And the difference is obviously the price, right? A diode laser is way cheaper than a CNC. That's a different video in itself. But I just wanted to kind of give a background on why I'm so excited about this. So if you're like, okay, Rick, this is an IkiER Gen 2 K1. It's an IkiER K1 Pro. You're like, I've never heard of IkiER. What's IkiER? I don't want to purchase a laser that's a no-name brand. Well, to be honest with you, you've probably heard of this brand. It's more or less being rebranded. This is an Atom Stack laser. It's made by Atom Stack, and they actually created a second line. I think that's going to be either maybe more expensive or high-end line lasers. So it's a name that, you know, in the industry is already well known. It's not necessarily having to prove itself or you're skeptical on buying a product. You know, they've already been doing this a very long time. They've perfected. So whenever someone comes new in the business, right, there's going to be peaks and tweaks and bumps and bruises along the way. But when a company's been vetted into the industry and they've been doing this a long time, you have a likelihood of a lot less problems like that. So what you're going to see here is the actual laser itself. This box is the extended rails. That's right. And then this is the camera. A lot of people have been asking me, hey Rick, can you connect the camera and set it up with LightBurn? I did some videos on some grids. creating a grid and really show you how to do it. Line up your artwork so that you are able to achieve consistent results. So if you're creating these templates and you want to, bang out 15 or 16 of them, you don't have to do so much work, to realign everything. That and it's repetitive work and it'll look identical. So with the laser, with the camera, it makes it a little easier to do. Sorry, I'm speaking a little fast. Let's slow it down. With the camera, it definitely will make it a little easier to do. So I've also been extremely hard at work in Illustrator, creating a ton of work. You look at the background, you see a little bit different. I've actually installed a 4-inch exhaust outside of my home because this laser is going to be running non-stop, and I'm tired of my wife yelling that my house smells like a hamster cage. So that'll be a different video as well if you want to see this hooked up to the 4-inch exhaust, how I built the 4-inch exhaust itself. But let's go ahead and get into the unboxing. Let's unbox the laser first, and then we'll get into the accessories. Let's put this aside. Super excited about this. I think this is definitely going to really widen my horizon, so to speak, as far as my capabilities. Sometimes my creativeness hurts me because that I want to be able to do something, and sometimes these lasers, I'm meeting their limitations, and that's people are like, well, that's what a CNC's for. Well, guess what? Not anymore. Let's see how well it's packed. Looks extremely well packed for shipping, so nothing will be damaged. I like that. Obviously, it makes it a lot more expensive for someone during shipping, but you don't arrive with any product being damaged. This is a 24-watt laser. So again, this is the IkiER K1 Pro. It's a 24-watt laser. The cool thing too about IkiER, or Adam Stack Carver, whatever name you want to call them by, come with a nice air assist. It is heavy. Really heavy. I like the fact that it's almost made of like aircraft aluminum. I'm not sure, that's what it feels like to me. And the reason I like that is because as the motors heat up this running, that'll help dissipate the heat. I do see like a really fine screen on here, so the air induction, when it's sucking it in, that it won't suck it in on both sides, and that actually gets in the bearings of the fan, and that's what blows these motors. Not necessarily the pump, but the fan that's sucking and pushing the air out to cool or actually run this. The bearings go bad, just kind of like a desktop or PC fan. So I like that. I like that added touch, that micro screen there. That's a nice added touch. Something I just noticed right off the bat. So there you go. It looks fancy. Here we go. It definitely looks beefy. This is the laser. It looks like this has a little button, so probably when it touches down, that's able to some kind of reset. We'll see that when we come to it. The built-in laser that's actually on the side. The air import for the air assist. It feels beefy. Nice. I like this is a little bit wider than some of my other lasers, to be able to see in there. Not necessarily that you're, watching the artwork, so to speak, through this lens, but it does help you at times just keep an eye on watching laser. I never, ever run a laser and just have it run on its own. I'm always watching the laser the entire time. Looks like some kind of HDMI cord, power cable, hose for the air assist. I like that it's a separate hose, meaning that it's not connected into this. So if you damage this, or this gets damaged and needs to be replaced, you can probably just pick this up at any medical supply store or any pet store, with a saltwater fish tank. I say saltwater fish tank because saltwater tank is probably a bigger hose, diameter hose, versus a freshwater. That's the only reason. Let's keep pulling this box open here. Let me see if I can put something under here, so just kind of shift this up. There you go. So you can see as I'm opening this up what you see it at the same time I do. Secure the rails. So for the most part, it looks like majority of these lasers, they come fully assembled as far as the rails. I like that this right off the bat that I'm seeing that probably a lot of the problems I see with these lasers is cable management, and you're kind of routing the cables yourself, and I'm doing my best to so that when it goes back and forth that there's not any pinching or binding, or that it's falling on the workspace and getting hit by a laser. That did happen on one of my lasers. So I like the fact that this actually goes inside and they've already hidden or done the work for you. That is a huge improvement on any previous laser that I've had. Sorry for the pounding you hear upstairs. I'm in the basement. I'm in the wood shop, and my son is 3 years old, and he's like bam bam. Power supply. It's a 110, says 2 amps, and it's a 24 output, so not using a whole lot of power. And I obviously notice a difference on your power bill by running that. Some screws, and I noticed a key. So this is a good safety feature that you'll have for your kids, that they're not going to be accidentally or playing. Kids will be kids after all. USB-C cable. Looks like it's USB-C to USB-C, and this looks like USB to USB-C. Small power cable adapter. I'm sure we'll figure out what those go to later. But kids will be kids, so the good thing is that key is pretty cool, because you could literally lock it and they won't have the ability to turn it on. Some cool safety glasses. Starting to get a pile of those now, but it's nice to have extra pairs, especially because people find out you have a laser and never seen time to come to your house. Like, I want to see it. Nobody just wants to look at it. They want to see you do something. So it's cool to have extra pairs. Even if you have a pair, it's nice that they give them to you. Maybe you keep the nicer ones for yourself. And they're onlookers. You can give the ones that come with the equipment. Yeah, I definitely like how this. I use this a lot, or I used to use this a lot in the field. We used to call it a sock, and what this does is actually it really helps with cable management and being able to hide all your cables and look really neat, versus 4 or 5 different cables all bunched up and zip tied or taped or whatever. So I like that they added this sock, dressed the cables really nicely. Again, it's been inserted inside of the rails. I like that they did that. Small little touches like that to me means that you took the time during engineering, and that you're thinking about it actually being used. Oh, here you go. It's a fixed focus block. Pretty cool. Yeah, so small little things like that means that they took the time. They weren't just trying to bang up. A silica gel package means that they took the time engineering it. They're really thinking about it. So to me, that means a lot. That shows something as far as quality of the product itself. Looks like one more rail left in here. Not sure what this is. Oh, it's the screen. That's cool. Nice touch screen. We'll get into that once it's all hooked up, obviously. But cool. And here's the base, or the front side, where all the controls would go, the monitor would connect. That's what I was talking about. That has the lock, power button, looks like an alarm. I'm assuming a fire alarm, or maybe a tipping alarm. So a lot of these lasers now, they have built-in safety mechanisms. If there's a fire, this will automatically shut off, and if you lift it, a lot of lasers now will shut off. So we'll see if that is the case. It has some real nice rubber feeding on the bottom. So that's nice to not move. If you have people looking at you or watching it, or even yourself, not just anybody else, if you accidentally bump your laser while it's doing anything, a 1/4 of an inch off could mean that it's trash, because it's now going to move all your artwork and nothing's going to line up the same. So I like that it's kind of, I wouldn't say stop, but it would help restrict it by being accidentally bumped or moved. So that's everything that was in the box. Bam. Let's go ahead and get this baby put together. I won't put it together in real time. You're going to kind of see me put it together, and I'll speed up the process. So during this assembly, if you're putting one of these together and you have any questions, and you want me to cover something or answer something, just send me an email at rick.ramirez@ricks2cents.com, rick.ramirez@ricks2cents.com, or leave a comment in the comments below and I'll cover it. But for sake of time, I'm not going to do this in real time, so time to put this together. Step 8, spare parts package. How do you like that? The tiny little screws, because they know if you drop it, you're not going to find it. And then more than likely you're either lying and said that they didn't include it, or you're having a hard time to find it. So that's cool that they're including 4 extra screws putting this together. Again, I just think there was a lot of thought process going into this when designing it. A lot of these manufacturers, they're pushing so hard to come out with a product that they're problematic. There's issues, and they know there's issues, but they're worried about their bottom line. They're not worried about the quality that they're putting out. So just little small things like that. An extra set of screws, the rubber footings on the bottom, the cable management going inside. Like, I haven't even used it yet, and I'm pressed. So I just like that they did that, because it meant that they cared. They took the extra time to do that. So yeah, let's get this put together. Explain something. You may see me fighting a little bit with the wiring here. Inside of this braiding, it's hard to see the lines and how they twist or turn and how they're braided together. So when I was closing this, pulling these lines into there to basically make the connection, I want to make sure that they're laying in a natural form, because when the cables sit in a certain way, they have like a bend to them, almost like memory. So I don't want to just forcibly put them an opposite direction. I wanted them to lay naturally how those bends were, if at all possible, because when you're making hard bends this way, hard bends that way, that's when connections tend to break, from going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So sitting in there, moving it around, and getting it to kind of lay the way it wants to, least resistance of me fighting against it before I actually screwed this down. So just thought I would do that. So it seemed like I was struggling a little bit. I was, because I just want to make sure, I want the cable to naturally flow. If it's naturally bending this way, however it's been sitting, that's how I want it to continue to make its final connection. So that's pretty good. Here you go. A little slack. Slack, no problem. Okay, cool. If you're wondering how you put these screws in, this rail that's actually on here just literally lifts up. And then you can put those 2 screws on. They hold it onto the rail here like this. Just in case you wonder how that worked out. So I figured out what this extra wire here was for. It's for this little sensor. So okay, when going through the motions of putting this together, it becomes kind of like a norm, I guess. This is my 4th laser, and they all tend to be kind of similar as far as I'm putting together. So you kind of do look over the directions, but they're kind of vague, and they're mostly, I wouldn't say they're vague, but they're mostly followed by picture, right? So one of the things I'll just give pointers to, because as like I said, you start going through the motions, you maybe not be reading directions correctly or not understand directions. But when you're putting these rails on, right, they have a like a little metal piece. I'm sure you saw some of the footage that this actually screws onto. So you want to pull those all the way back, both sides all the way back, and actually, pull them all the way back, and then make sure this guy's tightened, because if you tighten this guy and they're not even, then they'll be off. So then, you know, this one could be up 3 inches, that one can be, so to make sure that they're in sync with each other, you want to make sure that these little metal piece here, let's see if I turn the camera. Yeah, see that little metal piece right there? You want to make sure that that is actually touching this metal piece here. So pull both of them all the way back. And then, so you might want to loosen that screw, loosen this guy right here, loosen this guy right here, loosen the screw. Oh, here's the screw. Actually, I don't even think I tightened it all the way up here. Loosen that screw all the way up, and then pull these all the way, and then pull these all the way back on both sides, and then tighten that back up. That's something you want to do. The other thing is, when you're putting these pins in, make sure that you're not forcibly putting them in. If it's not fitting right, try again, reapproach it, redo it. Don't forcibly put anything in there. It should just clip and feel natural. Same thing with these. If you either you have it backwards or something's just not right about the cable. If you force it, you bend a pin or you break something or put it in backwards, you can do some damage. Just take your time when doing that. For the most part, there's just 4 screws you're putting on each side, which is common sense, right? And then when you're screwing this guy here in the front end, you're pushing that rod all the way through. The very first screw is super tight. It's super tight for a reason. They don't want you to loosen it. They only want you to loosen the second screw that's here. So once this pulls in, then it's actually not making it into the second screw, so that it still has enough to make it into this motor here. Make sense? So again, the 2 screws you see here, there you go, 2 screws you see there. The one on the left, or the one farthest away, the one farthest closest to this rail, do not loosen. Only loosen the one that's on the right, and pull that in. And then if basically as far as it will allow you to pull it in, will be the right length to line up to do the same thing here, which you can't see now because this is covered there. As far as like putting this all together, you shouldn't see any gaps or anything. Everything should line up perfect. Remember, this is precision equipment, so everything should line up perfect. Shouldn't have an issue. If something's misaligned or off, it's going to make your laser off. So make sure you take your time. These screws are machine thread screws, meaning they're super fine thread. So when you're screwing them in, make sure not to cross thread. turn them in by hand, and if there any kind of resistance, then stop and pull it out, or work a different angle, or try a different screw, or try a different hole, you know, because maybe it's just turned a little goofy. My uncle always should say, don't let your eyes deceive your hands. So if you're screwing this in, close your eyes. As crazy as that sounds, close your eyes. Your senses get a little better, and you can raise or lower this as you're screwing it to line the hole up. So you screw this in. So that's pretty much it. It's all together. I'd say it was a pretty easy build. I was a lot more intimidated the first time I built one of these lasers. I guess this fourth time around, the rails are all kind of the same. Still overall very impressed with how this is on the inside. That is nice. I tried doing something like this on my Tesla V35, but this is just blows it away. So I like that. I noticed too that it has this on the back side that you can manually raise or lower, adjust the height of the laser. Obviously it has the auto, but you can do that, so that was cool. What I did is I actually, when screwing this on, or these holes here on the side that hold the laser in place, I put it flush to the bottom of that, and then I screwed those in place. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let me go ahead and get this screen. Cool, it's the first laser I've had with a screen, and it is. I was wondering if it is. It is. It magnets in place. So very cool. So then this HDMI cable that came with it. Assuming that's it. No, it's on the side. So on the side here, it looks like you have HDMI, USB-C, your power. It says input and output. So yeah, so very cool. Everything came together nicely. This is just the unboxing video. This is the installation video. I obviously will add to this video and install it into my computer, the LightBurn. I did see a fancy dancy little USB here, so I will see what's on this. I'm assuming it's drivers, maybe a trial version of LightBurn. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's on the USB, or see if LightBurn automatically recognizes and installs it. But so far, so good. Impressed. Everything's just telling me awesome. For some reason, I don't know why. Just the appearance of this leg, I almost thought maybe this folded down to raise it up. I will be installing the extended legs at a later time. Not everyone gets the extended legs, so I at least wanted to go through the procedures of installing the extended legs, get it all up and running. We'll do a test burn, show you how it's working, and then in a later video we'll do a video with the camera, and we'll do a video with the extended legs. But for the sake of length of the video, I'm just covering just building this, my overall first impression unboxing, and then a quick burn so that you see that it works. And then be ready for a ton of videos. Man, I kind of want to tell you what I'm going to do, but I can't. I got to hold it. And it's killing me not to tell you them. But all I'm going to say is the upcoming videos for this IkiER K1 Pro, you better watch it. You're going to be blown away by some of the things that I've created, the artwork that I've created to use this for. I'm telling you now, you're going to be impressed. And I've spent a month creating these files because there's a ton of different layers and there's some extreme detail. So a month I've spent first creating it in Illustrator, then importing it into LightBurn and really getting all the layers ready. There will be some trial and error, of course, when getting set up with any laser, but I'm pretty much ready to hit the ground running hard. So just make sure not to miss any videos. If you're interested in the IkiER, look at how they did this. Just this design, just the look of it, it just looks impressive. It just looks expensive. It looks professional. It doesn't look DIY. You know, just in this, I like everything about it so far. I just can't wait to use it. And like I said, I've done my due diligence. I did my homework beforehand, so that once this is together and once this is good to go, that I'm really gonna come out hitting hard some home runs. So be ready. So I'll be right back with this connected to the computer installed, and we'll do our first test burn. All right, I was able to get this installed. The IkiER Pro K1 did automatically detect and install. One thing I just want to emphasize, when you're installing this, if you have a previous laser installed, like myself, I have 4 of the lasers installed, that if you have another laser selected here, hope you can read that, it'll have a COM port here, and if you have a COM port selected, even though you're plugging into the same exact USB port, it may not auto detect. So when you're installing a new laser, make sure you select choose, and by just selecting choose in LightBurn here, then when you're adding it's going to auto detect it. If anyone's having a problem installing it or detecting it or getting installed, let me know. I can do a separate video on that. But for the most part, I think that there's a ton of videos out there on that, so I don't necessarily need to cover it for time's sake. But if you think you need for me to cover it, just let me know, and I will go ahead and make that video. One thing I also did notice is if you take a look at this, that X or the cross is off. It looks like it's pitched to the right a little bit. So I will be making a separate video on how to align this laser. When you first turn it on, you are going to see this here in a different language. Top right hand corner right here, just go ahead and click on that, and then you can scroll to English or whatever language you prefer. Just thought that was a good pointer. Sorry, I'm trying to eliminate the glare. So one thing I did notice is if you hit home in LightBurn, it will home it, but it also unautofocuses it. So I'd have to go back here, sorry, under console, and I did set up my autofocus to let it do its autofocus. In the manual, it actually does explain how to set up the autofocus. I will be making a separate video on how to set up autofocus. There it goes. And in the comments and description below, once that video is posted, I will go ahead and set that. If the autofocus feature does not work like it kind of just did right now, what you'd want to do then is go ahead and click on home again. And then once it's homed, then set autofocus. I think that's really because it was interrupted or something goofy. That's why it's doing that. So let's go ahead and click on the autofocus again, and let's there we go. Also keep in mind that I am autofocusing on a piece of wood. If you try to autofocus on, let's just say, the honeycomb itself, it will not work because the laser is actually going to go through the honeycomb, and it won't consider it a hard object to be able to focus on. So now it's autofocused. So now we got that. Let's go ahead and laser this image. It's set to 20% power. Let's go ahead and just bump this to 50. Just for. And let's hit start. Nice little R. Let's go ahead and bump this up to 100. That was super fast, and if you notice when it turned on the air, what's crazy is that most lasers, when this is on, this fan is running the entire time. It's really loud, and the air assist is running, and it's really loud when it's not being used. What you're noticing is the difference is that while this is, even though this is powered on, it's, make sure it's powered on. That's all the way up. It's making zero sound at all, unless I'm actually cutting something, which is kind of cool actually. So let's go ahead and hit start. There you go. So yeah, that's actually really cool. I like that. Listen. Very, very cool. Super quiet without that on. I want to feel the well, it's just very quiet as well. See, it turns right off. And this fan turns off. That's a really cool feature. I like that deal. So you can verify it was on. The same thing with this fan right here. No sound at all. Go ahead and start. And I just wanted to show how I did this cables. To be honest with you, I'd rather have everything on the right hand side because I have the laptop set up here. But because the output power from this control module controls the power of the air pump, it has to be on this side unless you were to buy an aftermarket cable, which I may very well do, to actually be able to put it over there. And the reason is because I'm going to have a surge protector UPS on the right hand side. I didn't necessarily want it on this left hand side. I want it on the right hand side behind the laptop there, and just kind of clean this up, and also so that if and when I put the extended rails on, I can shift everything over here. So I think that's just like it's a standard cable that you could probably purchase on Amazon. So this is the unboxing video. This is set up, as you can see. Overall, impressed, to be honest. Like I said, no complaints. I do see some adjusting that needs to be done, but I don't necessarily know if that's from the manufacturer just not tweaking it correctly, or from just precision equipment getting bounced around, being shipped from overseas. But at any rate, that is a minor thing that could be adjusted. I'm going to have a separate video on how to adjust, calibrate that laser, also how to calibrate if you're a person that wants to use this laser as lining up equipment, as lining up your artwork, a video how to calibrate that as well. Like I said, if you want me to make a video on installing the IkiER K Pro with and LightBurn, let me know. I can add that, to the library of videos. But just get ready for a ton of awesome artwork that I'm going to be creating with this. Also, be adding. I'm sorry, I'm saying also. But I will be adding a video installing the camera in LightBurn, and be able to adjust that. So I think that'll be a nice added feature. But as an unboxing video, as the first impression video, I'm impressed. Overall, I think it has a nice sheen to it, nice look to it. It's impressive if your customers are to see it. Not that that makes a difference, but to me, it just doesn't look DIY. It just, if a customer sees it, it doesn't look like some, excuse my friend, some crappy laser. It looks like a professional grade laser, this finished, the way everything was done. One thing I want to mention too is that make sure that this ribbon cable is not over the top, because it came with it over the top. Make sure that you pull this over to the side, because as this goes up and down, automatically that it will be too short and it'll catch on that. The other thing is that when you some people are complaining about the autofocus feature. I'll make a more in-depth video, but just a quick tip that when you are setting this auto depth, just unplug this laser out of your way, so that you can use the depth guide that's here. So if you want, I'll just show this really quick. Let me turn this off because I don't like. Basically, what I'm saying is that to auto calibrate this has to be 5 millimeters from the base of this to the top of that. So what you're going to do is loosen these screws, because if you're using a honeycomb or something underneath it, that it has to adjust for the thickness of the honeycomb. And again, you wouldn't have any. You're adjusting this purely with the honeycomb itself, right? Because this is always going to be this is a fixed object. You're going to go ahead and loosen these screws, and you're going to just rest this laser on the honeycomb, and then you're going to manually raise or lower this until from the top of this to the bottom of that measures 5 millimeters on this, and then tighten those screws back up and it's set. Now if you decide not to use this honeycomb, you have to readjust that. Once it's all adjusted, just go ahead and plug this cable back in. Okay, and you're good to go. So I will make an in-depth video on calibrating all that, setting all that up, but for the sake of time, like I said, that was just a quick once over. So if you need further details on that, or maybe I went too fast, that follow-up video, just make sure everything turns on okay. The other thing is when you turn this on, there's like a warming up process for a second. So if you turn it on, you're like, I don't got nothing. Just give it a second. There you go. We're set. So thanks for watching. Let me know if there's anything you want me to cover. Anything you want me to show. Anything that I may have went over too fast. If there's anything you'd like me to cover that I didn't cover, please feel free to either shoot me an email at rick.ramirez@rick's2cents.com, rick.ramirez@rick's2cents.com, or go ahead and write a comment in the comments below, and I will answer it to you. If it's something that isn't a simple answer, then I can make a video on going over that. But like I said, there will be a couple videos I think that have to be a little more in depth, and that's setting up that cross-X, that's setting up the autofocus. I'll make a separate video on that. I think that's something that could be a very short video, but it could go over it. Yeah, and then if need be, like I said, you want me to make a video on installing that LightBurn, I can as well. But I'm just excited to get started and to really start putting out some outstanding artwork with this. So thanks again for watching. God bless. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.